All right, we got two cards on this short lesson. We're looking at conflict with the Senate, between the president and the Senate. And there's a lot of checks on on presidential power, and much of it comes from the Senate. And so we're going to look at that and where are the areas where the president is going to come into conflict. So presidential conflict with the Senate 2.46. Okay, here we go. Let's jump onto the backside. All right. So first off, the president will conflict over appointments to the cabinet members. These are the department heads, or also called executive officers. So these are the people who are the head of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of, you name whatever department you want. Those type of departments are going to be the heads of the FBI, the heads of the Environmental Protection Agency. And they only require a 50% plus one. Remember, 50% is 50-50 in the Senate, so you need one more than that. So 50% plus one, or whoever's actually present. Technically, it could be less than 50 votes if you have less of people in the Senate present at the time. But the bottom line is you need, percentage-wise, more than 50% to pass an executive officer. That's all it takes. But sometimes the Senate will be of a different political party, and so there can be some controversy over a cabinet member that's appointed as a result of that. Also, ambassadors. These tend to not be terribly controversial, but it is possible for that to be controversial. Again, don't need a supermajority to approve of ambassadors in the Senate. Just a majority vote will get it through. All right, just a simple majority will pass it through. All right, good. Judges. Remember, this is only for the federal court system. State court systems are appointed by, mostly in most states, it's the governors, although in some cases there's elections or whatnot. But in this case, judges need to be approved at the federal level, 50% plus one. And by the way, this is the longest lasting influence because judges at the federal level in the Constitution have lifelong term. And so they get to serve for life. We'll talk about that when we get to the next part of Unit 2 when we talk about the judiciary. So judges, 50% plus one, longest lasting influence of president. Long after a president is dead, even there could be judges that are still on the bench making important decisions. Treaties. Remember, a president has a right to negotiate with foreign powers and really has pretty much absolute power over that negotiation, but the treaties have to be approved by the Senate with a 2/3 majority. So that's quite a hurdle. It's one of the reasons why presidents have gone with executive agreements with other countries as a way to avoid having to deal with the Senate. And so that is an example of expansion of presidential power in order to try to get around the Senate. Always, of course, and this could be said with the House as well, but specifically we're talking about the Senate. Any sort of policy agenda the Senate disagrees with. So a president comes out with some sort of new healthcare policy and the Senate disagrees with it. This is going to be more likely when the Senate and the president are different parties. So you have divided government, but at the same time, it can happen even within the same party. So some sort of policy that the Senate disagrees with the president on. And then lastly, executive orders tend to be an area where the Senate will disagree with the president. And oftentimes executive orders, another expansion of presidential power, are ways that the president might be able to get around a policy. You think of the Senate in 2012. The president of the United States was President Obama wanted some action on illegal immigrants who've come to the country without permission. And he ended up passing an executive order that said, we're not going to prosecute people that were brought here as children. Now, under the law that Congress has passed, that's not part of the law. It says that if you come here without permission, then you are being sent home. That's what the law says. But President Obama just said, like, you know what? We're just not going to prosecute you if you came here as a child. Those were called dreamers. And so that's a Senate has opposed that in many respects. However, because the House has been not in agreement, it hasn't really been changed. All right, 2.47. Another conflict, and this is the most important one that I want to really delve into a little deeper, and that is the conflict of the Supreme Court. A Supreme Court appointment can last for 30 plus years. And so a president who's 70, they may not live to see the day that their Supreme Court justices leave the court. So this is a huge, huge philosophical and important appointment. And so therefore the stakes are very high because there's only 9 Supreme Court justices. And the Senate is going to be, there's been some really big fights over Supreme Court justices. All right. And let's talk about that controversy. There's an idea that's called Bork, to be borked. And that comes from Robert Bork. He was a Ronald Reagan appointee to the Supreme Court in 1987, and he was attacked in the media by Democrats for his judicial views. He was, a conservative, and of course Reagan was, but the Senate was controlled by Democrats, and they attacked him pretty forcefully, and a lot of people felt unfair. In fact, the definition of Bork in the dictionary means to obstruct someone, especially a candidate for public office, through systematic defamation and vilification. Defaming someone means, kind of exaggerating and lying about them in public. Vilification means to make them into a villain, to make them into someone that they're maybe not. And so defamation and vilification, pretty hardcore. And then you see the quote there, "We're going to Bork him," said an opponent. So this happened to the conservative Robert Bork. And matter of fact, let's just look at an example that is used as an example of borking someone, and that would be from Ted Kennedy, from a Democrat from Massachusetts, on Robert Bork. This would be John F. Kennedy's younger brother. And he said, "Robert Bork's America is a land in which women would be forced into back alley abortions. Blacks would sit at segregated lunch counters. Rogue police could break down citizens' doors in midnight raids, and school children could not be taught about evolution. Writers and artists could be censored at the whim of the government, and the federal courts would be able to shut on the fingers of citizens." And so Bork just lost it, that this was unfair. He didn't believe in segregation, that he was going to overturn Roe versus Wade and therefore abortion would be illegalized. These sort of things were exaggerations, for sure, and that was part of the defamation. More recently, we had a Trump appointee named Brett Kavanaugh who was attacked in public. A woman accused him of an assault case, a sexual assault case, when he was a teenager in high school, over 30 years ago, but she couldn't remember where, when, and who was there. Actually, the people she said were there actually denied that they were there. So that just is hard to really say. Was it true? I mean, we don't really know. Another woman came out named Julie Swetnick. You can see this down there. And she said, "In 1982, I became the victim of one of these gang or train rapes where Mark Judge and Brett Kavanaugh were present." So she claimed that he was part of some gang rape troop. Everybody that was mentioned in it denied this, and it was demonstrably false about him. He ended up still getting appointed to the Supreme Court because, one, the Senate was controlled by Republicans, so they were more likely to approve of the Republican appointee by Trump. But the point is that this was, you're not arguing against someone because of bad decisions, but more because of you're trying to ruin their character and make them into a villain. So that was called Bork. Then we have another thing that's known as the Biden rule, and this was named after Joe Biden, who was the Judiciary Chairman, which is actually where a Supreme Court justice would have to be approved before it goes to the Senate. And back in '92, then Senator Biden said that if a lame duck president, in this case George Bush, got to appoint a nominee, then that judicial nominee would be ignored. So a Democrat Senate is going to ignore a Republican president if he's a lame duck. And in this case, Clinton had just won, so Bush was a lame duck. Well, it didn't matter because there was never a Supreme Court nominee. Well, the Republicans turn around in 2016, and of course the lame duck was Obama because he couldn't run for re-election. And so the Republicans used this against Obama nominee Merrick Garland, who's there down below. The Republicans control the Senate. Obama appoints Merrick Garland. He was a more moderate liberal, or at least most people think he would be, and he's ignored by the Republican Senate. I mean, nothing in the Constitution, it says the Senate will provide, consent, advise and consent, but that doesn't say they have to take it up. They could just ignore it, and they did. Eventually, Trump wins the election, and the he appoints Neil Gorsuch, who, of course, is a conservative on the court. So that kind of swung the court in a little bit more conservative direction. And so when the point of all of this is that the conflict over Supreme Court justice is massive due to the kind of court making massive decisions that are important for culture and government, and therefore it's really hard knuckle politics and maybe not great, maybe not even fair at times, and probably not something that the society looks at and smiles and says this is just a great aspect of American culture in American politics. All right, so but the point is that the Senate has conflict with the president, especially over Supreme Court justices. All right, thanks. Bye.